Welcome back to my channel where we read scary stories and creepy legends. Bus 375. Bus 375 is a scary urban legend about a bus in Beijing that disappeared one cold November night, and it's supposed to be based on a true story. This is also known as the Midnight Bus or the Bus to Fragrant Hills. This story happened on November 14, 1995. In Beijing, China, at midnight, bus 375 pulled out at the Yuan Mingyun bus terminus. This was the last bus of the night and its destination was Fragrant Hill. On board were driver and a female conductor. The night was bitterly cold and harsh wind was blowing. Stopped at South Gate next to the Summer Palace, and when the doors opened, four passengers got on: an old lady, a young couple, and a young man. The young couple sat at the front behind the driver, while the old lady and the young boy sat on the other side of the bus, beside the door. As the bus drove through the night, all they could hear was the drone of the engine. It was a quiet, remote area and no other vehicles were on the road. After a while, the driver spotted two shadows by the side of the road, waving at the bus. The driver stopped, and when the doors opened, three people got on. There were two men who were supporting a third man between them, holding it up by its shoulder. The man in the middle looked disheveled, and his head was bowed, so nobody can really see his face. All three of them were dressed in traditional Chinese robes from the Qing dynasty, and their faces were deathly pale. The other passengers on the bus were scared and glanced nervously at each other as the driver pulled off and continued down the road. The female conductor tried to calm everyone down by saying, "Don't be afraid. They could just be actors shooting a costume drama, but, you know, not everybody believed that." The old woman kept turning around and staring at the three passengers who were seated at the back of the bus. There was an eerie silence. None of the passengers said a word. All they could hear is the wind whistling outside. After the third or fourth stop, the young couple got off. The bus driver and the female conductor were chatting and laughing. The young, the old woman suddenly jumped to her feet and hit the young man sitting in front of her. She was shouting and making a big fuss, telling everyone that he had stole her purse. The young man stood up and started arguing with her, but the old woman grabbed him by his collar and demanded that the driver let them off the next stop so she could bring him to the police station. The young man was speechless. When the bus stopped, the old lady dragged the young man out. They watched as the bus drove off into the night, and the old lady breathed a sigh of relief. "Where's the police station?" asked the young man. "There is no police station," the old woman replied. "I just saved your life." "What? How could you have saved my life?" the young man said, puzzled. "Those three people were ghosts," the old lady replied. "Ever since they got onto the bus, I had my doubts about them, so I kept looking back. It so happened that there was a wind blowing through the window, and I saw everything. I lifted up their robes, and I saw that they had no leg." The young man stared at the old lady in surprise. He started sweating. He couldn't say a word. The old lady called the police and told them what they had seen. The next day, Bus 375 failed to report at the station. It had vanished along with the driver and the female conductor. The police searched the entire city, but they could not find any trace of it. They questioned the old woman and the young man, but they dismissed their story and decided that they were mentally ill. That night, the Beijing Evening News and the Beijing News reported on the story. The old woman and the young man were both interviewed live on TV. 2 days later, the police eventually found the missing bus. It was submerged in the Meon Reservoir, about 100 kilometers from Fragrant Hill. Inside the bus, they discovered three badly decomposed bodies: the bus driver and the female conductor, and an unidentified man. There were a number of other mysteries surrounding the case. The bus did not have enough gas to drive all the way to Meon Reservoir, and when the police opened the petrol tank, they found it filled with blood. Even though the bodies were found only 2 days after they disappeared, they were badly decomposed. An autopsy, I can never say this word, autopsy confirmed that there had been no intentional meddling with the body. How could have they decomposed so quickly? The police did a strict inspection of all security cameras tapes on each entrance leading to the Meon Reservoir, but the bus wasn't seen in any of them. In fact, they found nothing out of the ordinary whatsoever. What could the bus How could the bus get there without being seen? To this date, it remains an unsolved mystery. Thank you so much for listening, and I really do appreciate the views. And make sure you subscribe, or I'll be sending my little friends after you too.